Welcome back, my friends. Jake here. In today's video, I'm gonna attempt to explain America's broken immigration system. A majority of my YouTube audience is international, non-American, and they don't really understand what's going on. I frequently get comments such as this one. Jake, I don't understand why Biden and the Democrats won't support securing the border. If that is all it takes to get military aid for Ukraine, why wouldn't they just agree to secure the border? We're going to start this video with a disclaimer. When I say the Republicans want, I'm not saying that as a Democrat. I'm not a Democrat. When I say the Democrats want, I'm not saying that as a Republican. I'm not a Republican. I am a nonpartisan, independent voter who in past elections has voted for both Republicans and Democrats, depending on the year, depending on the state I've lived in, and depending on the candidates. So this video is going to offend and upset everyone. If you identify as a Democrat, if you identify as a Republican, there's something in this video to make you angry. Additionally, I'm going to tell you things in this video you're not going to hear from any politician or from the mainstream media. We're going to talk about the deep state and what the shadowy powers behind the curtain actually want. So, this video might get deleted, this video might get me canceled, I don't know, but I'm going to give you guys the truth. I hope you can handle it. So here are the two questions. What is causing illegal immigration, and how do we stop illegal immigration? That seems to be the goal. But first I have to dispel this narrative being perpetuated that this is a recent or a new problem, when in fact immigration in the United States has been broken for over 40 years. I'm going to link all these videos down below if you want to listen to the speeches yourself, but here's President Ronald Reagan in 1986 declaring that America's immigration system is broken. This led to the Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986. This was supposed to fix the problem, and it made it worse. Fast forward to 1992, Pat Buchanan became a national figure, declaring the invasion of illegal immigrants a national disgrace, as border jumpers wait for him to leave so they can cross the border. This is 1992. Fast forward to Bill Clinton's speech in 1995, he declared, America's immigration system is broken. We need to fix this. This led to the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrants Responsibility Act of 1996. This was supposed to fix the problem, but it actually made it worse. Fast forward to 2013, here's a CBS News clip of Paul Ryan. He was the Republican vice presidential nominee. In 2012, under Mitt Romney, he was chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee. In this clip, he declares America's immigration system is broken. Here's a clip of former Speaker of the House John Boehner. This is 2014, declaring that America's immigration system is broken. Here's Paul Ryan again, this time as Speaker of the House in 2018. This is under President Trump, declaring that America's immigration system is broken. So this has been a problem for a very long time, and there's some pretty strong reasons why. So I can explain illegal immigration and what drives it in two charts. The first chart, migrant encounters at the US-Mexico border reached their highest level on record in 2021. But look at the history since we started recording the data in the 1960s. There was this gradual increase and then a huge spike in the 1980s. It came down for whatever reason in the early 1990s, went back up as we approached the year 2000, went back down and hit relative lows between 2010 and 2016, and then spiked again going into 2021. This graph is entirely explainable when you superimpose it on the unemployment rates here in the United States. So the unemployment rate reached about 7% in 1993, decreased. We had a recession. Unemployment rate went up to about 6% in 2002, decreased. We then had the great financial recession of 2008, 2009, 2010. Unemployment went up to 10%, and then over the next decade decreased, and then we had the COVID spike, but it's basically back down. These gray bars are recessions. When there's 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth, that's the definition of a recession. So immigration spikes when the unemployment rate in the United States is low. When the US economy goes into recession, illegal immigration, border crossings go down. You can see it spikes again here in 1999-2000, right before the dot-com bubble crash and the US economy went back into recession. It then cratered by 2010-2011 because the United States was in a recession and the unemployment rate reached 10%. So making money is what drives illegal immigration. Many of these people coming to America, they're coming from countries where maybe they'll make $5 a day. So to make $10 an hour working on a farm in Georgia or Tennessee, this is just too attractive. It's too appealing to millions of people around the world living in poverty. Especially if you can make it to the United States and find a paying job, you then can send half your salary home through remittance to support your family in whatever impoverished country you came from. This is what most illegal immigrants do. They come to work so they can support their families back home. Here's the next chart you need to see. ICE deportations stemming from interior enforcement and border arrests. So we've got between 2009 and 2015, this is under Obama. And in 2012, deportations of illegal immigrants exceeded 400,000. Fast forward to Donald Trump in 2017-18, and it's in the 200,000s. So why is it that under President Obama and the Democrats, deportation of illegal immigrants was almost twice the rate of Donald Trump and the Republicans? And the reason is the economy. We had just experienced the Great Recession. The unemployment rate was 10%. So there was an incentive for the Democrats and Obama to deport as many illegal immigrants as possible so that potentially Americans could find jobs, even if they're jobs they don't want. If you've got to work to support your family, you're going to take the job. But the unemployment rate kept going down, and labor in the United States became more scarce. So under President Trump, even though there's still 10, 11 million illegal immigrants in the country, he deported fewer because the labor market was more tight. Employers want these illegal immigrants. And the number of unauthorized immigrants in the United States actually peaked in about 2006-2007 at around 12 million. It then went down during the Great Recession. It is going back up recently. People estimate that today it's around 11 million illegal immigrants currently in the country. So this is the law of supply and demand. When the unemployment rate is low here in the United States, more migrant workers come to America and fewer are deported. When the unemployment rate is high, fewer migrant workers come to America and more of them are deported. Doesn't matter who's president, if it's a Democrat or Republican, this trend holds true for the last 40 years plus. So let's now look at border crossings in recent times. This is fiscal year 2023, October to September. 2.4 million border encounters with people trying to get into the United States. That is pretty damn high. So why? What explains this? And sometimes there are political factors, such as the failed government in Venezuela. There's a lot of people from Venezuela trying to seek asylum here in the United States because their home country's not doing well. But what did I tell you is the number one driving factor to cause people to come to the United States? And it's the economy. The unemployment rate is currently 3.7%, and it was bad. When you think about people trying to find workers in 2021 and 2022, I saw for hire signs everywhere as employers couldn't find workers. So if employers can't find workers, they seek out illegal means. They start hiring illegal immigrants. They start making connections with jackals and coyotes to smuggle these people into the country so they have labor to work in their business. U.S. stock market is also at all-time highs. This is the S&P 500. The U.S. economy is just on fire right now. It's raging. GDP growth is greater than Asia, greater than Europe. The U.S. economy, I know some people don't feel it, but by every measurable metric, the U.S. economy right now is doing very well. So we know now what is causing illegal immigration. So how do we stop illegal immigration? And it's first important to determine where are these illegal immigrants working. Unauthorized workers in the United States, this is according to the Pew Research Center. There's about 10 or 11 million of them, and almost half of them work on American farms. If we were to cut off this supply of labor or deport these 5 million farmers, America's farming industry would collapse. This would trigger a massive economic recession. Crops would be rotting in the fields. American farmers wouldn't be happy about this. Anyone who shops at a grocery store here in the United States would not be happy about this. The next category is construction, about 15%. And I'll give you a personal story from last month. I just bought a home here in Las Vegas, and I had all the carpets ripped out and replaced. I went to what looked like a legitimate store here in town, a legitimate business, to get my carpet replaced. But the people working at the store contract out to illegal immigrants. 2 guys showed up at my new house, barely spoke any English, they spoke Spanish, and they did a really good job ripping out my old carpet and installing the new carpet. Immigrants who come here illegally, they work as contractors, doing whatever they can in the construction industry. The next category is production and services. Let's just talk about services. And these are domestic workers, people who work in hotels, people who clean bathrooms and do disgusting jobs. They're also nannies. They take care of people's children. This is important work that Americans want and need, and these jobs can never be filled without illegal immigrants doing these jobs. So how do we stop illegal immigration? And I'm going to give you the solution. There's only one solution. Here it is. You're never going to hear this from anywhere else. Mandatory prison sentences for anyone who hires an illegal immigrant. The law of supply and demand is what's bringing them here. So as long as they can find work, they can find paying jobs, they're never going to stop coming. Doesn't matter what the border security looks like, doesn't matter how difficult it is or how cruel and inhuman we are to them, it's not going to stop them when they can make good money and send it back to their home country to support their family. So this American farmer here, who hires illegal immigrants, he's a criminal. This small business owner, maybe he owns a construction company, he hires illegals, he's a criminal. This suburban housewife who doesn't want to clean her own bathroom and nanny her own kids, hires an illegal immigrant, she's a criminal. So my amateur opinion is we need federal sentencing, mandatory minimums of 6 months in jail for every illegal you hire. So let's say Karen over here hired an illegal immigrant, a nanny, and she was caught. 6 months in federal prison. Maybe 3 months with good behavior and she can get out early. But this American farmer who hired 20 illegal immigrants, 10 years mandatory time in federal prison. This would stop illegal immigration. Make me king of America for a day, and I can solve this problem. But no member of Congress is ever going to say this. No member of Congress is ever going to talk about the only thing that can solve illegal immigration here in the United States. Nobody's going to campaign on, let's put farmers, small business owners, and suburban housewives in prison. So illegal immigration in a nutshell is never going to be solved. Okay, so let's talk about what do Republicans want and what do Democrats want. And we'll start with the Republicans because I think their messaging is clearer and what they want is more simple. And Republicans want no immigration to the United States. They frequently say they want legal immigration, but they've done everything they can the last decade to reduce the legal ways to immigrate to the United States as well as the illegal ones. Depending on the candidate, depending on the faction within the GOP, they want the mass deportation of millions of people. They not only want to stop immigration, they want depopulation. They want to deport 10 million people, which would be dramatic. Thinking about how long would that take, even at the rate of deporting 500,000 people every month. This is a dystopian nightmare to even consider. Busting down doors and taking people from their homes, their property, their cars, their children, and then trying to send them back to Guatemala or Colombia or wherever. They want to build a wall on the southern border. Okay. More fences and razor wires. I mentioned it, but they're okay with separating families, people who have spouses who are American citizens or children who are American citizens. They want to change asylum laws so it's more difficult to request and apply for asylum. And they want to end naturalized birth, meaning that if you're born in the United States, you're automatically a U.S. citizen. But first, we're going to quick mention the Great Replacement Theory. The Great Replacement Theory is a conspiracy theory that political elites in the United States are trying to replace the white population with brown and black people, people from not European countries. And I'll just let Marjorie Taylor Greene explain the Great Replacement Theory.
Joe Biden's 5 million illegal aliens are on the verge of replacing you, replacing your jobs, and replacing your kids in school. And coming from all over the world, they're also replacing your culture. And that's not great for America.
This is Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene, a white woman from Georgia, telling an audience that's 98% white that Biden and the Democrats want to replace them, replace their children, replace their jobs, replace their white culture here in America, and that's not good for America. This is just racist, but this is nothing new to the United States. The United States has always had politicians demonizing the new wave of immigrants coming into the country. America is a nation of immigrants, and when immigrants come in, usually they're less educated, they're poor. But the fact they were willing to get on a plane or a boat to cross an ocean to come here, they're risk takers. They're people that have made America stronger, not weaker. So this picture right here is of Irish immigrants. The Irish, when they first started coming over, were treated very badly. They were demonized by the press and members of Congress. These are Italian Americans coming to the New World. The Italians received lots of xenophobia and hatred when they came over. And these are Polish immigrants coming to the New World, coming to the United States, who were also demonized and not treated great when they first started coming over. Here's a political cartoon from 1903 depicting immigrants from Europe as rats. Direct from the slums of Europe daily, we've got socialists, anarchists, the mafia. They're coming from Ireland, they're coming from Italy, they're coming from Poland. The slums of Europe diluting the blood of America. The arguments being made about Latinos today is the exact same argument made about Eastern and Southern Europeans 100 years ago. Let's now talk about building a wall on the southern border. And if Republicans really want to do this, we can do this. But this doesn't do anything to stop illegal immigration. With a $100 saw bought from Home Depot, you can get through the fence. I've seen the pictures and videos of people going under it, people going over it, people going around it. And these illegal immigrants have risked their lives going through the jungles of Panama, going through the cartels and the gangs of Mexico. They've spent months traveling 2,000 miles to reach the southern border. They're not going to stop at the last foot and a half. They're going to find a way to get through, around, over, or under this fence. Here are children at the Mexico border playing on the fence because it's a joke to them. And this is important to emphasize, that almost half of illegal immigrants who come into the country come through an airport and a port of entry with a legitimate legal visa, a student visa, a travel visa, or a work visa. And when their visa expires, they just don't leave the country, they just remain here. Half of illegal immigration is from visas being abused. Building a border wall does nothing to stop that. Additionally, you can build a border wall, but most of these people are not trying to sneak in. They're going to a legitimate port of entry and then declaring asylum. They want help. The second they see a border guard, most of the people going across the southern border go towards the border guard for food and water and assistance and help. So yes, there are criminals and gang members trying to sneak across. But when you think of the big picture, it's actually a very small percentage. And for people who want to build a wall, okay, that can be one component, but that doesn't solve the problem. Next, when it comes to family separations, we need to have a difficult conversation about the reality. And let's say this man came to the United States illegally 30 years ago, but now has a daughter who's a U.S. citizen and has grandchildren who are U.S. citizens. She's of voting age now. There are many tens of millions of Americans who have immediate family members who are undocumented illegal immigrants. They're never politically going to vote to send Pop back to Guatemala. So we do need some common sense compromises about family separation. Perhaps there can be a process where they go back temporarily and then they can get on a definitive path towards permanent status, a green card, or citizenship, but there has to be a negotiation here, and Republicans just put their fingers in their ears and don't really want to talk about this aspect of illegal immigration. Concerning naturalized birth, this is the 14th Amendment, and this is never going to be changed. I'm sorry. We're not going to repeal the 14th Amendment, but in the United States, we had a thing called slavery for a while, and we had to pass the 14th Amendment saying that if you're born in the United States, you're automatically a citizen. If we didn't have this, then southern states after the Civil War would have taken away the voting rights and the citizenship of anyone of African descent. So overall, this has been a good thing for America, but it does complicate things when illegal immigrants come here, get pregnant, have children, and their children are now U.S. citizens. So what do the Democrats want? And the Democrats want to increase legal immigration. The Republicans ideally want zero. They say they want legal immigration, but they've never done anything to support increasing legal immigration. And the Democrats want the other avenues, employer-sponsored visas, the lottery system, make it easier for family members to sponsor other family members to become citizens. They want a documented status for all undocumented workers. Even if you're here illegally, you still need a driver's license, you still need to enroll your kids in school, yada, yada, yada. There needs to be official legal status granted to people who are here illegally. A path to citizenship for people who have been here for decades, or people who have always paid their taxes, never broken the law. They've been model Americans despite not being a citizen. Democrats want more immigration judges to handle these cases. They want more asylum officers to process all of these asylum claims. And they want more border guards. Democrats actually do want more border guards to address the crisis at the border, not just a wall. I could talk about what the Democrats want and go into specifics, but let's just fast forward to the part where I talk about the deep state. And the way that immigration functions in the United States today is exactly how the deep state wants it. These are Wall Streets and party insiders and the establishments, whoever you want to claim the deep state is. And what the deep state wants is more immigration. As much immigration as the US economy can handle. And the United States needs this because birth rates are declining. Here is the crude birth rates for the United States per 1,000 people. The birth rate in the 1970s was really high. Both my father and mother are one of 6 children. The birth rate then kind of peaked in 1990 again as the baby boomers were all having their kids. These are my parents. But it's fallen off a cliff. I have an older brother who's 43. He doesn't have any children. I'm 39. I don't have any children. My younger sister, she's 34, also doesn't have any children. That's a completely separate video, why people are not having kids anymore. But this is a disaster for an advanced economy. In order for old people to grow old and retire, we need younger people working jobs to support them and paying taxes. So here's the population pyramid of the United States, and we have the baby boomers between 60 and 80 really, aging into retirement. And this population pyramid looks pretty good. You can see it's kind of this straight down chimney pattern. It only looks this way because we have about 40 or 50 million immigrants in the country. Immigrants have a higher birth rates than natural-born US citizens. So if you were to subtract all of the immigrants and the children of recent immigrants, the United States economy would be a disaster. There would be a contraction and a recession, and things would be pretty bad. So here's the nightmare scenario currently playing out in Japan. This is Japan's population pyramid shrinking, and they have an aging population with not enough people to care for them. The Japanese economy has been stagnant for almost 30 years. Their stock market's been flat. Investment, every metric, GDP, whatever you want to say, doesn't look good for Japan. Additionally, this becomes a death spiral. As there are fewer and fewer young people at a lower birth rate, it just gets worse and worse over time. Unless you allow immigrants in, people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, there's no way to straighten this chimney out. The generation of Japanese kids being born today will have fewer kids when they're of parenting age in 20 or 30 years. So the population of Japan peaked in 2010, and it's going to collapse. It's going to get really bad. So why doesn't Japan just allow in immigrants to stabilize their population and allow their economy to continue to grow? I lived in South Korea for 6 years. I love the Japanese, but they're pretty racist. And they don't want to let in poor people from countries with people with darker skin. There are lots of people in Southeast Asia, Indonesia, wherever, that would love to take a nursing job or a farming job in Japan. But Japan makes this incredibly difficult. Japan is the opposite case of the United States, where they're an advanced economy with a declining birth rate, and they've chosen no immigration. They've basically chosen societal suicide, as Japan's population rate is in a death spiral, continuously shrinking forever. This is what they chose, to not have people with darker skin colors walking around their cities. Does this allow for more ethnic and racial unity? Sure. They might have stronger social welfare programs because they don't think that those poor immigrants are stealing all the good benefits, but I don't think this is a better case scenario. I think the United States is far better off continuously allowing legal immigration, but if legal immigration is restricted, the deep state is fine with getting it illegally. So the deep state, Wall Street, whatever you want to say, they want economic growth. They want the stock market continuously going up. They want property values continuously going up. And you can't do this unless the population continues to grow. The next chart I want to show you is just the population of the United States over time. If we go back 100 years, the population of the United States was about 100 million. Currently today, it's almost 332. But look at Russia, this orange line. Their population flatlined at about 1990, and it's not grown in 30 years. If Russia is now one of our geopolitical rivals again, and a potential war could be coming in the future, having more workers and having more bodies to be soldiers is important. This is the national security wing of the deep state, and just having a larger pool of people available to draw from in wartime makes the United States more secure. And when you think about China, if China is the real threat long term, if a war between the United States and China is inevitable within the next 10 years, this is what some people believe, then having as many bodies, as many people in the country as possible is critical for both defense production in wartime when it comes, and drawing people to join the military should this new global war break out in our lifetimes. Here's a population chart showing China. They're not good about immigration. Their birth rate is pretty atrocious. I think we all understand the ramifications of the one-child policy. But look at this extrapolate over the next 50 years. I think it's actually going to go up faster for the United States, but China is also now in a death spiral. Young people in China are not having kids, and China's economy, especially the last 3 years, has been exposed. Because they don't have population growth anymore, and they can no longer basically steal people from the countryside as basically internal migration to the big cities, China's in trouble. And the United States is looking pretty good. And as far as what is the maximum carrying capacity of the United States, people need to stop moving to Los Angeles and New York, but everything in between is pretty empty. I've been lucky enough to drive cross-country numerous times, and most of America is pretty empty. We could easily double the population size of the United States, and everything's going to be fine. There's still plenty of room. I was just stationed in the Air Force in Minot, North Dakota the last 4 years, and there's plenty of space in North Dakota if immigrants are willing to move there and work on a farm. So this video is going much longer than I planned. There was more I was going to say about the Democrats' proposals and stuff they want, but it really doesn't matter because the Democrats are going to get nothing. The reason why is the deep state wants to keep these immigrants illegal forever. If you're an illegal, undocumented worker in the United States, you can be exploited. This is what American farmers and American small business owners want to do, because it's about financial incentives, supply and demand, yada, yada, yada. If you can keep these people illegal forever, they're cheaper to employ, easier to fire, they can't unionize or report abuse, they can't complain about working conditions, and sometimes they feel trapped or are physically restrained and they can't leave their job on their farm or in their factory. If you care about people, this is immoral. But some people just want to maximize profits for themselves. That's the deep state, not me. So the goal, the reason why immigration in the United States is broken, the reason why the borders are open, is because that's what the power players in America want. They want immigration. This frustrates Republicans. And they want to keep these immigrants illegal forever, which frustrates Democrats. And that's the system we have. So what the hell does this have to do with military aid to Ukraine? And it has nothing to do with military aid to Ukraine. Pairing together military aid for Taiwan, Israel, and Ukraine with border security was a political trap to make sure that both of these issues failed. Republicans have controlled every branch of government between 2017 and 18. They didn't fix immigration, they didn't secure the border. Democrats also controlled every branch of government in 2009, 2010. They didn't fix immigration, they didn't secure the border. So it's going to remain broken forever. It's just a political wedge issue and something for politicians to talk about to get you to vote for them. It's Lucy holding the football again and Charlie Brown thinking this time will be different. I wish I had a more positive ending for this video, but I don't. That's the truth. You're not going to hear it the way I just explained it to you anywhere else, because people are just playing political games with people's lives. That's all for this update video. If you found it informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Maybe share it with someone. I always appreciate it when you guys do that. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.